Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Happy Hump Day. Today is Wednesday, August 24th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, President Biden made an official statement, and millions of student loan borrowers are very, very happy today. He's keeping his promise on a campaign promise that he made to us. We start our show with breaking news on the fate of your student loans. Meanwhile, Herschel Walker, he asked the question, don't we have enough trees? Criticizing a bill that he says would raise taxes on people making less than $200,000. Then, murder charges are being dropped against the two Atlanta cops who killed Rayshard Brooks. Just as Georgia's special prosecutor, he says those cops acted reasonably. We have that story.
Plus, two members of the NFL choir are here to talk about what they have coming up next. And Usher, baby, adds dozens of tickets to see him live in Las Vegas. We have all of that and so much more. This is Our Voice and Our Truth, so let's get it.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. We start today with news on student loan debt forgiveness. President Biden has taken action by forgiving $10,000 or more for millions of Americans. The debt cancellation is for borrowers who make less than $125,000 a year or couples who make less than $250,000. For those who got federal Pell Grants, up to $20,000 will be forgiven as long as they make less than $125,000. The executive order is also expected to extend the payment pause on student loans until December 31st. President Biden says this will be the last pause on payments. We expected this, right? So I guess the question now, is this too little or is this a move in the right direction? I mean, personally, if it's all or nothing, I'm going to take something. And so I'm happy with the $10,000. I mean, according to studies, there's about 9 million people who owe less than $10,000. More than half of Americans who have student loans owe more than that. But I'm pretty sure that everyone, while we would like to see more, we're going to take that $10,000.
We are going to take it. You're absolutely right. We're going to take it. More than 43 million people in America owe about $1.6 trillion in student loan debt. So, did we expect this? I actually did not expect it. I did not expect it because, yes, he made the promise, but we've had many times that the student loan forgiveness deadline has been moved back. IIT has gotten one. All of these different colleges have gotten different student loan forgiveness and not the promise that he made. So I honestly got okay with it being like, maybe he's just not going to do it. But you know what's so crazy is that we begged him for the $10,000, although he said 50, and people are still not happy. There are still so many people that are still like, I'm not happy. And I just feel like, you're just not going to please everyone. I have to double check to see how much in grants I have because I'm hoping I can get the 20,000, but I will gladly take 10. That's going to change a lot for me. Just knocking $10,000 off my student loans. I mean, we're paying monthly. It's expensive. I went to 2 colleges. This to me is great. I feel like it's a win.
Okay. And we'll take that win because we talked about it for months. We know the midterms are coming up. So some things have happened. Gas prices have been dropping consistently, right? We're getting this done. The climate bill has been pushed through. So this is a good look for the Democratic Party heading into the midterms. So I applaud that. A lot of people, like you said, they still would have loved to have had more, but this little bit will definitely help moving forward. So I consider a win for the administration.
Absolutely. And I was interested that it happened today. I know yesterday he said that they would make a statement today, but I think that once he made the statement that he was going to make a statement, I was optimistic. But before he made a statement that he was going to make a statement about it, I still was just kind of like, you know what? You guys know, I was like, I love Joe Biden, but when it comes down to these student loans,
this is one thing you was pushing for.
Romeo, I have been very just straightforward. I have not changed my view on how I felt about student loans. So you guys, I'm sure you guys read this and was like, okay, I know Demi's rejoicing. I almost threw a party. I think I'm going to throw a party for this because I'm going to throw a Joe Biden 10,000
We're going to have a
party.
heat check with you to make sure you were okay with this move.
Exactly. Yeah, I was looking on Twitter just to see some of the reaction from people. A lot of people are pointing out that the PPP loans were forgiven in all and not in part. So there's that reaction. And then a lot of people are saying, what if we already paid off our student loans? Right. What happens to us? But that's like saying, I was cured of cancer, so there should not be a cancer cure because it wasn't fair that it wasn't out when I had cancer.
I'm just so happy for those people that were able to pay off their student loans, because I, years later, not going to say how many years, am still paying off my student loans for going to 2 schools and needing, going to arts college. It was expensive. So, I mean, I'm happy that there are people that have paid off their student loans. I mean, I have friends that didn't even get student loans. So there are some, you're just not going to be able to win. And I'm sorry to the PPP people, but 43 million people that doesn't add up. 43 million people didn't take out student loans.
That the PPP, so when you applied for forgiveness for the PPP, you got it wiped out.
Yeah, and there were also people
major artists that got it wiped out.
We won't even
cry. And then there were also people who got PPP loans that did not have to even do work to get those. They were able to get those loans. There are people that went to college, went to multiple colleges, slaved, going through law school and going to be nurses and doctors that had to really put in a lot of major work to get these loans. So we're not going to even compare the student loan people to the PPP.
It should be a whole different story.
Yeah.
But again, people are going to have mixed reactions.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. That's not to you, Mimi. You
don't
get hyped up.
I know.
I get excited when we start talking about student loans. Why did you guys give us the story today? You know I was going to get excited. All right, soulmates. Now, family and friends of the victims of the Buffalo grocery store mass shooting that left 10 people dead, 10 black people more specifically, they are speaking out the role of the systemic racism that it played in that specific massacre. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission held a listening session in Buffalo earlier this week. The EEOC officials, they say they plan on using what it learns from the listening session, and they put that into its multi-year strategic enforcement plan to battle racism in federal hiring. Now, meanwhile, a national fund is being established to help the survivors and families of the shooting. The Buffalo 514 Survivors Fund has amassed about $4.6 million. That fund is accepting applications for and until September 14th. Now, the money will be given to survivors and the families in financial need.
An attorney for 2 brothers who have been in jail since June for felonies they allegedly committed during the January 6 riots at the Capitol compared his clients to people who took part in the George Floyd protests. Joseph McBride says Black Lives Matter protesters were given a pass. He implied during a hearing that Adam and Brian Jackson were the subject of a politically motivated prosecution, but Judge Randolph Contreras said the one violent BLM protester that came before him went to prison. Prosecutors say Adam Jackson faced off against police near an injury to the Capitol building. Jackson allegedly threw an orange cone at them before charging cops while he held one of the officers' riot shields.
There's no comparison between a BLM protester and the people who took over the Capitol. Those are two different things.
I mean, if we go backwards and look at it, Black Lives Matter, what triggered that, right? We understand what happened with George Floyd and things that would happen before that and since then. Meanwhile, this is an election that was done the right way, and yet Trump had these people go up to the Capitol and did what they did and affected so many lives for the rest of their lives. That's the problem right there.
Again, there's no comparison to BLM protesters who were fighting for injustice for black people versus the white people fighting for what?
White privilege.
For white privilege, right? Also, too, a lot of protesters here in Los Angeles were tear gassed, were maced, were beaten and bruised. The hundreds of people that stormed the Capitol were waltzing around and were able to go to Nancy Pelosi's office and get her pedestal and all these other things and hang out in the office and take photos. So again, there is absolutely no comparison.
No. Absolutely. A former Louisville Metro Police detective is the only cop convicted in the 2020 death of Breonna Taylor. Kelly Goodlett, she pled guilty to felony conspiracy charge in federal court yesterday. Goodlett resigned from the force earlier this month, a day after the Department of Justice filed charges against her. Now, Goodlett, along with her partner Joshua James, they lied to a judge in order to get a search warrant for Taylor's apartment. The felony conspiracy charge carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Her sentencing is scheduled for November 21st.
Georgia Senate hopeful Herschel Walker, he's criticizing a newly passed health care and climate law.
They continue to try to fool you like they're helping you out, but they're not. They're not helping you out because a lot of the money is going into trees. You know that, don't you? It's going into trees. We got enough trees. Don't we have enough trees around here?
Walker, he says that money from the bill allotted for an urban forestry program is a waste. Walker spoke to a Republican Jewish group on Monday and said, quote, "A lot of money is going to trees. Don't we have enough trees around here?" The GOP candidate, he says that the bill would raise taxes on people making less than $200,000, but Democrats say the law does not directly raise taxes in that income bracket. They say that people making less than $400,000 a year will have their taxes increased. And honestly, when you make more money, you have more problems, more money, more problems. And I mean, I'm not to shame those who are, making over $400,000 or what have you, but I really want to focus on the tree part and Herschel Walker. Every time he opens up his mouth, and I feel like someone steals my words every time, and I end up on YouTube every time I talk about Herschel Walker. But every time he opens up his mouth, it is like, did you not rehearse? Did you not think about what you were going to say? You have Herschel Walker here on one side talking about a dry mist for COVID, talking about what is the other, just random things. That
good and bad air.
Good and bad air, trees, versus Raphael Warnock fighting for voting laws, fighting for Medicaid expansion. When we talk about the choice for those Black Americans specifically should be clear here. And I don't even understand why he's in the running. However, you have to be very nervous about people like him, because we thought that Trump didn't have a standing chance when he was going for president. And then all of a sudden, boom, he was our president. So we have to keep our fingers on what he's saying, but also it's just kind of like, come on here.
Yeah, because we're saying this in jest, like, we know that Herschel Walker is not a qualified candidate. If you just pay attention, you see it. But neither was Donald Trump, and so that's a really, really good point. We did the story the other day where Mitch McConnell came out and said where he thought the Senate was going to take over again. The Republican arm of the Senate was going to be in the lead again, and he took it back because of candidates like Herschel Walker. But I don't think we can take our foot off the gas. So if you are in Atlanta, if you are in Georgia, you still have to get out and vote, because you just never know.
You can't laugh at a Herschel Walker, something that goes viral with him, but not get out and vote, because it will bite you in the butt in the end. And when I first heard this story, I thought he was going to say something like money grows on trees. I didn't know what we were going to get from Herschel Walker, but it's always something special, right? So soulmates, moving forward, if you live in that area, you know what you have to do. All right, 2 Michigan men could spend the rest of their lives in prison for a kidnapping conspiracy conviction. Adam and Barry Croft are the first people convicted for conspiring to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2020. The men were also convicted of 1 count of conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction. Prosecutors say the men planned to kidnap Whitmer from her summer home. The men reportedly wanted to set off a Second World War, but their attorneys say the men were entrapped by FBI agents. It was the second trial for the men. The first one ended in a mistrial.
The foundation run by actor Brad Pitt that built homes for people affected by Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans has agreed to pay residents of those homes $20.5 million. A lawsuit filed by residents say the houses built by the Make It Right Foundation were defectively designed and built. The homes were built in the lower 9th Ward, the area of New Orleans most devastated by the levees when they broke during the storm. Now, starting in 2008, the nonprofit, they built 109 energy-efficient homes designed by famous architects like Frank Gehry. The homes were sold to people who were displaced from the neighborhood for $150,000.
Walmart is being ordered to pay a Black Oregon man $4.4 million after a former employee racially profiled him as he was shopping. The civil suit awarded is the largest in the racial discrimination suit in Oregon history. Michael Mangum's suit, it says that the theft prevention employee spied on him as he was looking for a refrigerator light bulb in the store. Mangum says Joe Williams demanded that he leave the store. When Mangum refused to leave, Williams called police and falsely claimed that he had been assaulted by Mangum. Officers, they refused to arrest Mangum because that employee had a reputation of filing false police reports.
The first day of closing arguments in Vanessa Bryant's civil trial against Los Angeles County would have also been the 44th birthday of her late husband, Kobe Bryant. Yesterday, an attorney for the former NBA star's wife asked jurors to award her $75 million for the distress she suffered. This after firefighters and sheriff deputies using their personal cell phones took graphic pictures of Kobe, his daughter Gigi, and others who died in the helicopter crash in 2020. Tuesday is the first time Bryant's lawyer put a dollar amount on what Bryant wants jurors to award her and her fellow plaintiff, Chris Chester. Chester lost his wife and 13-year-old daughter in the crash as well.
And murder charges are being dropped against 2 Atlanta cops who killed a Black man in June of 2020. Georgia special prosecutors say the cops acted as reasonable officers would act in the circumstances of the night Rayshard Brooks was killed. Now, Brooks was shot and killed in the parking lot of Wendy's restaurant after he took a taser away from the cops who were there to arrest him for DUI. Wendy's employees called the cops to tell them a man was asleep in his car in the drive-thru. As Brooks was running from cops, he fired the taser. 5 days after the shooting, the Fulton County DA at the time charged Garrett Wolf and Derek Bronson with felony murder. This right here, this is to me why elections have consequences, and elections they matter, because so 5 days after the shooting, the Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard, he announced charges against the officers. He came back up for re-election. He ran on this, and he was not re-elected. He lost the campaign, and so the new district attorney Fannie Willis, she asked to be recused from it, and so they appointed someone. And when they appointed someone, he went back and said that he watched the video and the cops acted in the best interest of their own safety, and they would be dropping all charges. You know, we all watch this video. I think when someone is running away from you, there's a way to de-escalate without putting bullets in their back. It's really unfortunate that here we are again with charges dismissed when we have this video that shows, you know, did he handle everything right? No. But did he deserve to die for the way this was handled? Absolutely not. He was running away. Here we are. We see him running away. So, you know,
Mimi, I think that it is very big of us to acknowledge that a person that two things can be right. That did a person handle everything the right way? Maybe that by the book, possibly no. But like you said, did they deserve to die? Absolutely not. And so two things can absolutely be true here. And so another conversation that's being started as a result of this is who is fit to be governor of Georgia. So, you know, Stacey Abrams, she's looking to take over for Bryant Kemp. And so she put up a tweet earlier today that pretty much calls out the police and says accountability is an essential component for community trust and public safety. And she also says de-escalation, co-responders, and transparency must become the expected standards. And so I think that with her trying to come into the role, one, it's going to make a lot of people feel like, okay, you know, our government, our elected officials did not think that this should go through with that the officers should be accountable, but our potential incoming governor does feel like some accountability should be had on the police officers. And so I think as her coming in and wanting to get people to trust her, this is going to make a lot of people feel like I'm going to go with Stacey Abrams because she's going to go with what's right for the black community and all people in Georgia.
No, you know, I agree with that. And, you know, here at Foxborough Black Report, we've been carrying this story since the beginning. We got to remember, in May of that same year, George Floyd, he was murdered. A month later, we had to deal with this. And you think about it, we've had young black men that tried to get away from police in the car been shot and killed. This man was on foot. He was running away. He did not have a gun in his hand. How much danger could he have been? He wasn't driving intoxicated. He was running on foot. You could have easily tracked him down. They made the decision to steal and take his life. And then how can you possibly say, yes, they're in the wrong, and then say, well, you know what, we reviewed it, and no, what they did was the right thing. It was not the right thing. It's allowed to win some, lose some when it comes to cases like this, and that's what hurts.
Yeah.
Definitely.
De-escalation is the word right there, Demi, the word for the day. And, you know, we go back to Buffalo. We've seen people who do far worse be taken alive. You know, we always have to, when it comes to us, it just seems to be a different story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.